Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a bit of a follow-up on my quest to find the best makeup under $5. I recently took it upon myself to search and dig around for some really good affordable drugstore gems because I just feel like, as prices are rising and rising, it's getting harder and harder to find really good makeup that is under that $5 price point, but I found some really good options. Some of these are ones that I've had in my collection for a while, and then some of them are newer to me, ones that I tested in my testing makeup under $5 video. And I also wanted to give you just more of a follow-up on the products that I tested in that video, since that was kind of a first impressions. There definitely were a couple of products from that video that now that I've tested them more, I feel like you can skip them, like they're really not that great. There's probably something better out there, but then I also have kind of like my top 5 under 5 to share with you. So let's go ahead and get into my top 5. The first product in my top 5 under $5 is the Profusion Mauves palette. As you can see, mine is very old. I've had it for a while. A lot of the writing has worn off, and I've even hit pan on one of the shades. But I love this palette. I kind of fell back in love with this palette earlier this year. This is $5. You get 10 shades. I think that is probably the best bang for your buck, like cost per shade wise. I do have another eyeshadow palette I'm going to be sharing that's also very affordable, but it doesn't have this many shades in it. And I do want to warn you, I do feel like these Profusion palettes are a little bit hit or miss. There have been a couple that I've had and then eventually decluttered because I just didn't really care for the formula too much. Those two were the Pastel palette and the Spectrum palette, which were both all matte palettes. So I would say skip any of the all matte palettes from Profusion. I don't think their matte formula really stands out, but their shimmer formula is incredible. And this palette, I mean, I like the mattes in this palette as well. I think the mattes in here all perform really well, but the shimmers are really where it shines. And so obviously I haven't tried all their palettes, so I'm not going to tell you just a blanket statement like all of these 10 pan palettes are amazing, but this Mauves palette specifically is so good. I have loved it for 2 years now, and it still holds up as a really good palette in my collection. Seems like 2022 is the year of rosy palettes. A lot of rosy eyeshadow palettes have come out this year. This one is a great one to either bust back out if you have it in your collection, or if you're wanting to kind of hop on that trend. This would be a really good one to check out if you're into these kind of tones. It's an all kind of monochromatic rosy berry palette. Also, I feel like this palette in particular makes a great bang for your buck because you can use these lighter shades as highlighters, and all of the matte shades can be used as blushes as well. And because the pans are kind of on the bigger side, you can pretty easily fit a blush brush in there without like accidentally dipping into like 5 shades. So I just love this palette. I still highly recommend it. I can't believe the price tag on these. So the next product in my top 5 under 5 is the Essence The Blush in the shade Befitting. This is so beautiful. This is so inexpensive, yet I feel like this performs just as well as any other blush at any price point. It's blendable, it's smooth, it's pigmented, but it's also not going to be too much pigment right away. Like there are some blushes where you almost have to be careful not to over apply them. With this one, that's not the case. It goes on very smooth, doesn't go on patchy or blotchy at all. So really glad I picked this up. Now I really want more shades. The shade Befitting is just the most perfect, like everyday kind of neutral nude color. This is the kind of color that'll go with any look. All right, so number 3 in my top 5 under 5, and these are in no particular order, by the way, but this is the LA Girl Dream Glitter Iridescent Liquid Eyeshadow. If you are on the hunt for a gorgeous, like, shimmery, glittery topper shadow, this is it. Like, this is so good, just as good as any Stila Glitter and Glow. $5. It comes in some really pretty shades. The only thing is it doesn't come in very many shades, at least on Ulta's website. I think there's maybe like 5 to 7 shades on there. I have the shade Rose Gold, and it is a stunning, kind of almost iridescent rose gold. I'm actually going to put some on right now. I'm wearing mostly the Athr Beauty Rose Quartz palette today. I'm just going to tap a little bit of this on top, just because I feel like it. Oops, I'm kind of spoiling one of my other top 5 under 5s. Oh well, I think you could all see it coming though. Isn't that pretty? It just adds this really gorgeous sparkle. It's definitely translucent, like this is not going to be entirely opaque metallic foiled. It's meant to be more of a topper. But I just think this takes any like light rosy shimmery eye look and just takes it to the next level. But like once this sets down, it is there to stay. It's not going to like fall down onto your cheeks throughout the day. It does really set and dry down, so it's not gonna, you don't feel like your eyelids stay wet for like hours after you apply this. So highly recommend. I I don't know why more people aren't talking about these. It's really nice. So I'll go ahead and talk about my number 4 in my top 5 under 5. This is the Essence Coral Me Maybe palette. Lots of people have been raving about these over the past year. This is $4, so $1 cheaper than the Profusion palettes, and you get 6 shadows. And this is just such a beautiful selection of colors. All of the shadows in here are pigmented, smooth, blendable. They're not overly powdery, but they still pack a punch. I love it. I can't believe the price. Now, I want to set realistic expectations here though. Like, I'm not saying this is going to compete with your $65 Natasha Denona palette. It's not like Essence is completely reinventing the wheel when it comes to eyeshadows, but to me, these are just really reliable, easy to work with shadows. Are they going to be like, whoa, this is like something I've never seen before in terms of the quality or like the shimmer? No. But I mean, you'll see in the swatch, the shades are pigmented. Those shimmers have great color payoff. And I love just putting either of those kind of medium shimmers all over the lid as a one shadow look. It's just so easy to get a really quick everyday look with this palette, and I love these kinds of tones too. I love corals. I think coral shadows look beautiful on so many people. And then my 5th and final in my top 5 under 5 is an oldie but a goodie. These are the e.l.f. Seriously Satin lipsticks. These are just such good lipsticks. You just can't beat the price on these. I have 3 shades: Persimmon, Nectar, and Cream. I have kind of like a light nude, sort of a more medium toned nude, and like a bright, vibrant color. This is one of those formulas that's good no matter what type of color you're gonna get. You know, some formulas are maybe a little bit too hydrating or shiny for them to work with like such a bright orange like this, but these are, they call them a satin lipstick. I would say they're more of like a closer to matte than satin, but not in a drying way at all. I would say Cream is probably my favorite. It's a good, like really light nude. I don't wear this on its own, but what I really like to do is wear it with like a slightly deeper kind of brownish nude lip liner, and then I top that with a gloss. I kind of just pop this in the center of the lips, and it makes the most perfect kind of, if you're going for that really nice, full, kind of almost contoured lip look, this is a great light nude for that center of the lip pop. So that's probably my most used one, but I also love Nectar for kind of like a almost peachy terracotta nude. I normally don't like colors like this, like more warm, deeper nudes like this, but there's something about this that's just so gorgeous, even on fair skin. I think it's because it doesn't have too much brown to it, and it's not too like tomato sauce orange. It's just a really fun, kind of vibrant, peachy nude, something a little bit different. I especially like to wear this one in the fall. That's Cream right there, and then Persimmon is like a true orange, which is just so fun. I like to wear that one either full opacity or sheared out. And the nice thing about these being so affordable is that if there's a color that you're probably not going to wear very often, but you still want to have to just kind of play around. Like for me, I'm not going to wear an orange lipstick often enough to even use this up all the way, so I wouldn't want to spend like $20 to $30 on an orange lipstick, but with this I'm able to still have that color to play around with, try it out, but it didn't break the bank. So that's what I really love this line for, is just to kind of experiment with different colors. The packaging does kind of break pretty easily, unfortunately. I mean, that's just kind of the name of the game when it comes to such affordable products, but I could tell that my lid on Cream was about to completely break, so I just went ahead and put some tape all around it to hold it together, and it worked really well. And now the lid still works, like it still kind of fits on there snug, but this is probably not the kind of thing that you're going to want to just throw in your purse and have like jangling around in there, because it probably will break really quickly that way. But if you're just planning on kind of like leaving this sitting in your collection, I think it's totally fine. I did want to get an honorable mention before we get into some of the products that I don't recommend, to the Essence Soft and Precise Lip Pencil. I really like this lip pencil. It was hard to narrow this down to just 5, so that's why this is not in my top 5, but if I could pick a top 6, this would be in there. It's a nice wooden pencil, which I like, and it's a great, just kind of like smooth, thin formula. Why do I always swatch things right here? That is like the worst place to swatch something. But it is on the stiffer side, like it does feel somewhat stiff going on your lips, but not dry. So I actually really like that in a lip liner, because I feel like it's going to stay in place a little bit better than something that's super creamy, because then I'm worried that that's going to kind of, you know, feather out and not stay in place. And really the purpose of a lip liner is to help my lip products stay on longer and kind of stay in place longer. So I have the shade Happy in this, but it comes in lots of shades, and I really, really enjoy it. It's a fun kind of like springy, bright, peachy pink color. I think if you're on the hunt for a really affordable lip liner, this is a great line to check out. I think these are like $3. So this is a good alternative. I used to be a huge fan, remember, of the Jordana lip liners. Those were just about as affordable as it gets at the drugstore. I loved those. This is about the same price as those. Jordana, they went out of business a couple years ago, which I'm still so sad about because I loved so many of their products and they were so affordable, but this is a really good alternative to look into if you're looking for something that's very, very budget friendly. I still have to say my favorite lip liners at any price point are the Kokie ones. These are incredible. These will lock in place. Like if you swatch these and then leave it on for a few minutes, it will not move. Like this swatch here is going to be on my hand for like the rest of the day, probably into tomorrow. I also don't want that to make you think that it's like impossible to remove though. Like with a good cleansing balm, it'll come right off of your lips at night, but I don't think you can beat this. Like I have never found a lip liner that is that budge proof before. So these are, I think, $7, so definitely not as affordable as the Essence, but I think both are really good. The Essence one is just not going to be like waterproof, budge proof, everything proof as the Kokie one. So now that I've shared my top 5 under 5, I also want to talk about some products that I don't really think are worth it under that $5 price point. I do think that when it comes to such affordable makeup, they can be a little bit hit or miss, and I have just a couple that I think you're probably better off just skipping these. The first one is the Essence 24 Ever Ink Liner in Intense Black. So here's the thing with this one. I actually like the result I get. It's very, very black, very opaque. It goes on smoothly. It doesn't bleed on me. It is not waterproof though. I mean, I don't think it claims to be waterproof, but if like sometimes I'll get a little bit of watering in the corner of my eye, and if that happens with this eyeliner, it will wear off pretty quickly. So definitely don't get this if you're looking for something waterproof. But my main issue with this is actually the packaging. The lid does not snap on very securely at all. Let me try to show, like, see how easily that came off? It like barely snaps into place. For that reason alone, I don't really recommend this. I think especially if you're gonna have this in a makeup bag or you're traveling or something, this lid is just not going to stay on. Like, I just know it, and then it's going to dry out really quickly, and it's not even going to be worth the few dollars that you spent on it. Also, I don't really like the tip on this, and this may just be more of a personal preference, but something about the shape of this felt tip, and it is a felt tip, by the way, not a brush tip, it's very stiff and kind of short, and just the way that it kind of is tapered, it's pretty thick at the bottom and then it tapers kind of quickly to that point because it's so short. The way I normally like to do my eyeliner is I sort of hold it on its side like this and stamp it using the side of that tip to get my wing, and then I'll kind of fill in from there. But the shape of this just makes it kind of difficult to do that without getting like a really bumpy line, and I think I just prefer something a little bit more flexible. So I don't know, I just think there's probably better out there. I know Essence makes a few different liquid liners, so if you've tried any of their other ones, I would be interested to know if any of them are better than this one, but I just think you can save your few dollars and probably get something a little bit better from the drugstore. Honestly, I don't know. It's been so long since I've tried a new black liquid liner pen like this, but I would say a long time ago I did really like the NYX Epic Ink liner, and I think that was more of a brush tip, so that one would probably be a better one to check out. I know it's more expensive, but I think it's worth just the few extra dollars. I'm also really interested in trying the Makeup Revolution one that's in like the rose gold packaging because I've heard good things about that. And then also from Essence, this one makes me sad because I do like some things about this, but this is the Essence Lash Princess Mascara False Lash Effect. It's in the green tube. This is the only Essence mascara that I've tried so far, and unfortunately I am wearing this on my lashes today, and I really do love the way it makes my lashes look. Like, it really does make them look super long and fluttery. Like, my lashes are touching my brows, which is kind of like my telltale sign that it's a good lengthening mascara. Unfortunately, this smudges really badly. It transfers like crazy on me, worse than most mascaras, so for that reason alone, I just can't recommend it. Now, Essence makes a ton of mascaras, so I'm definitely open to trying more in the future. I know they also make some waterproof versions. I do not like using waterproof mascaras because they're just so hard to remove. So I definitely am more prone to smudging than I used to be with mascaras, but based on how many people have told me that this mascara smudges on them, I know it's not just me. So yeah, unfortunately, that is a miss for me. It's really hard. I am wearing it today. I can't wear it on the lower lashes. It will start smudging down below my eyes as well, probably within another few hours. So yeah, I don't even really reach for this very often just because of that reason alone, even though I really like the way it makes my lashes look. All right, the last product that I don't think is really worth it is the LA Girl Perfect Precision Eyeliner. So this is like a royal blue eyeliner. I really like that it's in a wooden pencil. This just gives me like Crayola colored pencil vibes. Like it smells like a colored pencil. It's a very stiff, like hard pencil, so it's not the most comfortable to apply to the lash line. It's also not the most long wearing, and especially knowing how good the NYX Epic Wear liner sticks are, they are a few dollars more than these, but they are so good and they are completely budge proof. Like those lock into place. This, I mean, just watch. Like I can just easily smudge it, smear it away with my finger. The NYX ones would stay on my hand for like the next 24 hours, even after like showering, washing my hands multiple times. Like those do not budge. Now I have heard that LA Girl makes another eyeliner that actually looks similar to the NYX Epic Wear. It's the Shockwave eyeliners. This one comes in a lot of really fun colors as well. That's the one that a lot of people have recommended to me, so definitely would be curious to try that one next. And that one is also under $5, so maybe that would make a slightly more affordable version of the NYX Epic Wear, even though that one's already pretty inexpensive. But the Perfect Precision, I'm not blown away. Another product that I've actually had in my collection for a really long time, this is under $5 at most retailers. I think some places it is a little bit over $5, but the CoverGirl Cheekers Blush, I actually am panning this right now. I'm actually wearing this on my cheeks right now as well, layered with the CoverGirl lipstick in Honeyed Bloom. But the more I've used this, the more I think there are just better inexpensive blush options out there. For one, I've complained already in the past about the packaging. I really don't like how narrow the pan is. I just find that very annoying. Also, the shade I have here is Natural Twinkle. It is very, very sheer, which I don't mind for my fair skin, but I do have to really build it up to get it to show up on my skin. I just think the essence, the blush, is way better. So after hitting pan and getting close to using this up, I just think this is probably not the best drugstore blush out there anymore. It's still not bad. I did have previously the shade Soft Sable, and I actually hated that one. It was almost like metallic on my skin. It just looked really weird. But I do think that shade was almost a completely different formula than this one, so maybe some of the other shades are different, I don't know, but at least Natural Twinkle, I think you can skip this, unless you just like a really, really sheer, subtle blush. But also be warned, this does have little shimmer particles in it. Even though it's looks mostly matte on the cheeks, there are little flecks of shimmer. It doesn't really bother me, but I know some people don't like that kind of thing, so wanted to point that out as well. I have a few more products I wanted to give you some quick speed reviews on that I tested in my testing makeup under $5 video. First is the LA Girl Pro Conceal. This has been around for a long time. I have the shade Buff, which is actually a really good shade for me, and I've determined that this is a pretty good concealer. It's not my favorite. I definitely still like the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer a little bit more. That one's $1 more than this one, so not that big of a price difference. Coverage-wise, it's pretty similar to the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo. It gives good high coverage, but it's just a little bit drying. Like, I don't think you would like this if you have really dry under eyes. Also, the packaging, it's kind of like a brush tip that you squeeze the product out through. I'm sure not everyone would like that. I don't really mind it. It can get kind of messy, and sometimes I can't really control how much is coming out, and then I get way too much. But I also feel like as the day goes on, this one will start to look a little bit more dry and crepey than the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. So I even did a wear test with this on one eye and the e.l.f. on the other eye, and I did it 2 days in a row, and I switched eyes each time. So you might have seen me post this like comparison picture on my Instagram stories. The first time I tested it, this was after wearing them for probably about 8 hours. The e.l.f. side looks so much better than the LA Girl side. I'll pop the photo on the screen here. But the reason I wanted to test them on opposite eyes the next day is because my left eye, the one that's probably your right, just naturally has a little bit more of a prominent dark circle, you can probably see, and more prominent fine lines. So I felt like the e.l.f. one kind of had an unfair advantage in that first picture, because you can see 8 hours in, my e.l.f. eye looks great, like still good coverage, not super dry. And then the LA Girl side looks very crepey, much darker than the other side. So anyway, the next day I tested them on opposite eyes, and it looked kind of the same. But this time the e.l.f. eye looked a lot darker, and just like the fine lines were a lot more prominent. I still think I like the e.l.f. one just slightly more than this one. Anyway, I wanted to give that update, especially to those of you who follow my Instagram and saw that first picture. I never followed up just because I was like, oh wow, like I didn't realize how many wrinkles I had on my left eye and not my right eye. But anyway, long story short, I still think this is a good concealer. I think as long as you don't have a lot of like fine lines or you don't have very dry under eyes, I think you'd probably really like this, especially if you're looking for something with good coverage. But for me, I probably will keep this and use it up. I especially like it for filming because I feel like it looks really good on camera. They also have a lot of corrector shades in this line, so if you're looking for like a specific tone of a color corrector, you can probably find it from here. So I don't think this is bad. It's definitely not good enough to be in my top 5, but it's also not good enough to be in my category of products I don't recommend. It's just somewhere in the middle for me. From Essence, the Pure Nude Highlighter. This I really wanted to like as well. Unfortunately, I think I've just determined that this shade is too dark for me. If I go in with a really, really light hand, it doesn't show up quite as dark, but it's still too dark. Like when I swatch it on my hand, you can kind of see when I turn it away from the light, you can see how much darker the base pigment is on my skin tone. Unfortunately, this is probably going to be something that I will pass on. It's a shame though, because I do really like the finish of this on my skin. I can see why so many people like it because it does look very natural and just kind of smooth and subtle. So it's not that I don't recommend this, but I would say only get this if you have a little bit of a deeper skin tone than I do. And then they also make it in a shade darker as well. Another thing that's somewhere in the middle for me is this e.l.f. Lock-On Liner and Brow Cream in the shade Light Brown. So this I purchased to use as a brow pomade, and it's actually not bad. It's not bad as a brow pomade. The shade is just a little bit darker than what I typically would want to use in my brows, but I don't mind it. It pulls just the tiniest bit red in my brows. So this is not necessarily the product I'm wanting to reach for when I'm doing my brows. If I'm reaching for a pomade, I'd still rather go for my ABH Dip Brow. But I think if you're on a really tight budget, this is not bad, especially if you can find a shade that works for you. But the problem is it just doesn't come in very many shades. But it is very smooth and creamy. The texture of it does remind me quite a bit of the ABH Dip Brow. So I think the formula is a pretty close alternative, but the shade range is just nowhere near as good. And I did actually try this as a liner as well, and it works well for that too. I felt like it stayed in place pretty well. I haven't tried it as an eyeshadow yet. Honestly, this just isn't the kind of color I'm gonna wear on my eyes very often, but you could use it as a cream eyeshadow as well. So if you're looking for a good like multitasking product that you can use in your brows as a shadow or as a liner, this isn't bad. Again, it's just kind of somewhere in the middle for me, but it's not something that I'm personally going to be reaching for over and over again and recommending all the time because it's just kind of meh. But I think that's everything I have to share today. I kind of just wanted to give like a roundup of these products and let you know which ones I think are actually worth checking out and which ones you can probably skip. Let me know, what are your favorite products under $5? Are there any other products from these brands that you think I should try? I'm definitely curious to try more from Essence, LA Girl, Profusion also. I've already tried a ton from e.l.f., but I'm always open to trying more from e.l.f. I love that brand so much. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you've not already, and hopefully I will talk to you again very soon in my next video. Bye!